integration of technologies and the initial training of English teachers, evidence and challenges in Chile.
Are you okay, Paula? Do you need any help? You appear to be muted, but I have given you the rights to unmute yourself before. So try again. There, we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Yes, now yes. So our team is composed by Dr. Koritza Subero, my colleague. We worked together at the University of Talca, and now she's back again to working at the University of Autonomous University of Chile. However, we have this project together that we're going to share with you today. Yes. So our aim is to examine the state of normalization of technologies to train students in pedagogy in English careers from Chilean universities. So in our literature review, we found out about the stages of normalization and factors that interact and operate in the pedagogical context to favor or impede such normalization. In this case, for example, Salley proposes a deep analysis of factors or essential problems that influence the achievement of normalization. And of course, the levels of use and ownership of ICT within the academic and student community, which participated in our study. So what is normalization? Bax explains that a status of normalization will be acquired when the use of computers is part of our everyday life and part of our daily life decisions for students and teachers when they prepare lessons, when they work in the teaching and learning process, just as a pen and a book is today. So teachers and students will use technology without fear or inhibition when we reach that stage, and equally without exaggerated respect for what they can do. Therefore, they will not be the center of the lesson, but an integral part of it. And so they will be completely integrated. Therefore, we will not treat technology as an innovation, something external to our classes, but as an integral part, as an integral element. And therefore, it will go unnoticed. And Bax also shares the stages of normalization, and of course, we can find ourselves in any of these stages, thinking that mostly people from some generations can have started here by being early adopters. And of course, we might find ourselves, as I said, going from one or the other in the middle of some of them, thinking that our objective will be normalization in the use. Okay, so there are also fallacies in the approach to call, and we already know them probably. The belief that the software should be able to do everything, yes, by itself. Therefore, this happens when a users put technology on a pedestal, and on the other hand, also when we think that the more features a tool has, the better, just because the technology is good by itself and should be successful by itself. Consequently, the authors mentioned before talk about essential factors that may impede or support the success of the use of the application of call. And therefore, they have been divided by Salem into technical, pedagogical, personal, social, cultural, and institutional factors that we will see in the next. So Saleh presents personal issues related to the application of call. And well, he of course refers to the makers who the policymakers and the administrators, students, and teachers, who are the ones who use or apply COL in their everyday life activities. And of course, success or failure depend on them. Studies have shown that, for example, lack of time or support or resources can make the use of COL activities in classrooms difficult, sometimes difficult to apply. In some cases, all of these issues prohibit the use of technology and technological tools. On the other hand, technical issues. We know that we need to pay attention to many issues whenever we want to use computer technology in teaching in general, language teaching and learning in particular. And therefore, we need a lot of support, which can be lacking just because of many issues. ICT support offices need to be always ready to help teachers, and sometimes we don't find that. Therefore, we have had experiences of labs which are installed with high technology, but badly exploited by the teachers and the learners. On the other hand, also pedagogical issues, since our universities follow still an old traditional way of teaching and learning, focused a lot on pen and paper, talk and chalk, and the lack of flexibility to connect and integrate elements coming from COL. Therefore, we continue relying on books and materials that we have been using for a long time without being flexible to the application of other activities and the application of technology in itself. Moreover, instruction and testing also depend on traditional techniques, mainly. Then social cultural issues refer to this fear of invasion of foreign cultures that teachers can feel, that their students can be exposed to, and also the perception that these materials are not appropriate for students, or they are not ethically appropriate. The material on the internet is not ethically appropriate. And finally, institutional issues, which are related to the objectives that institutions have when integrating COL, and of course, the support they need to offer the different actors that we have talked about, whether they are teachers, professors, administrators, to guarantee the success of this implementation. And sometimes, in many cases, we don't find that situation. Consequently, our study apply the instrument Sabertic, which tries to analyze dimensions, skills, and levels of knowledge in the areas of technology, management, pedagogy, pedagogical applications, social, ethical, and legal issues, and attitudinal issues in regards the levels of knowing, application in doing, and respect and integration for innovation in our classrooms. Our methodology, therefore, was based on the stages of normalization and influencing factors or the analysis of essential problems, the Sabertic instrument to inquire about the levels of use and appropriation of ICT within the academic and student community, and a thematic analysis of procedures. We have collected this data, yes, of course, in documents from institutions to review the contents of official documents on how they are processed at different institutions, plus surveys from students, teachers, and administrators. This is, well, like how we explain the analysis of documents, yes, pedagogical standards, syllabi, curricular documents, lesson plans, credit profile, just searching for these keywords to have this thematic analysis of their content. And therefore, my colleague now will share the results, preliminary results. This is an ongoing study at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to emphasize that on this analysis, on this part from the thematic information, the main key was that we could recognize on the official documents, maybe from the ministry or the three careers that we analyzed, were only few of them, yeah, not the whole list that we have established for this. 5 or 4, no more than then. Technology, ICT, just referring to those words, yeah, but no more. And it was really a really big surprise, yeah. Okay, so we were analyzing in the first with the first survey students, okay. They were part of our first survey. They were from different semesters, okay, first semester, third semester, but most of them from the first one, okay. They are studying the first semester by now. It has been established this year. It is an ongoing research. We are still applying the surveys, analyzing the data, and of course trying to criticize and to analyze the results. Most of them, of course, if they're in the first semester, just from 18 to 20 years old, yeah, more or less like this, most of them, and most from urban area. All of them are conditional in a way, because remember that context is important for this analysis, and we have established it as one of the dimensions, okay? Personal dimensions particularly. So those data or this information is going to affect what we're going to show later. One of the main questions in our survey was related to the kind or which ICT tools they use, the usual tools. We had established 23 ICT tools on the list, and only they selected 3. Most of them internet, yeah, and the others educational mobile applications and digital creation. So it was a really strange reaction, because we had a lot of ICT tools, what we mentioned, and it made us to reflect that maybe they couldn't know the other instruments like plagiarism detectors, digital portfolios, instant messaging services. We had 23 and they only selected 3 of them. So it was part of the data for our reflections. In what way they can say that they use it, however, the small amount of tools that they use it. Another question for our survey was to connect to the internet. We had different options. However, most of them say just computer and mobile phone. However, in the same way, tablet was another instrument, but they say that never use a tablet. 100% said that they use Wi-Fi, yeah, but a lower percentage said that never satellite internet or fiber internet. Okay, so we can affirm here, we can assert here that they use computer, mobile phone, and always are using Wi-Fi. So another question that we have established on our survey was to research information related to the content of the academic program I'm studying. I use the internet from. Of course, we imagine that the answer was home in most of them with a higher percentage because of our situation, the pandemic situation. However, it is followed by the university. So always they use their home connection and university connection, and in a lower way, friend's house or cyber cafe or something like that. However, we imagine that this result was related to our condition by now, the pandemic situation. Another thing that is relevant to comment by now are the highest levels of percentage of some assertions. They assume that they have basic knowledge of how to install and update the ICT tools that they use. It is the highest percentage that they show. For the answers, the technological devices that I use in class are personal, so it is more or less to confirm what we mentioned before. They use some tools from the home, the house, or maybe not in the university, or only some percentage, low percentage in the university. Professors conduct virtual classes. As I mentioned before, it is something related to our pandemic condition, yeah? Because in the other one, they said that it was more for using only few of the ICT tools. The place where I live in the equipment that I have adequate to install the internet. The quality of the internet signal at the university is adequate for the use of ICT tools for academic purposes. So they mention as the level for the knowledge of how they use or the integration of those tools are adequate. But at the beginning, the highest one was just basic knowledge. So it is, 4 minutes, okay. Part of our future analysis, why they assume that they have only basic knowledge. However, on the other hand, they say that it is part of the integration, yeah. Also, it is important to mention that they assert that they use protection measures for devices in the all digital content associated with the use of ICT in academic activities. Remember that some of the tools that they couldn't mention were related to protection, yeah, internet protection. The lowest, the university organizes and offers courses to train me on the use of ICT tools for educational purposes. So it is a part of the technological institutional dimensions that we mentioned before. The university makes it easy for me to use technological tools, so it's more for reinforcing what I said before about the courses, and also a management dimension. The professors encourage me to use ICT during classes, so low amount of professors encourage them. So also another dimension, this pedagogical dimension, and also attitudinal. In this situation, only showing briefly the students' survey. However, in the case of teachers, survey were more or less the same. It was more for attitudinal or institutional or technological. Also, for a brief review, they say that always they use Moodle platforms, Zoom, email, storage clouds. However, some others like Facebook Live, Google Meet, personal web page, printed docs, they never use, okay? And the others are really, really low amount of use. More or less the same happens with exams, assignments, using ICT tools for them, or for taking exams or doing some assignment task. They use, again, Moodle platform, maybe sending those exams or tasks by email, using YouTube channel, yeah, most of them. However, it is not one that they always use for this, if not a variety, a diversity. And never they assert to use email, use USB, or pen drive, as you read, C-score, printed docs. So more or less the same ICT tools for both, for exams or tasks or investigations. At the end of the survey, they assume that they are in the highest levels, stage 5, 6, or 7, almost in the normalization, the whole integration of ICTs. However, previously we could observe that only they use few of the tools, and also they refer to some specific spaces, okay? Some more for exams or tasks, but particularly some ICT tools, not all of them, not as part of the task of the functions. 1 minute, okay? So going to the final comment. As I mentioned before, it is an ongoing research. So in a critical and projective way, we can affirm that the results have contributed to identify the level of distinctions in technological integration presented by the careers analyzed. 3 careers were analyzed from the UTALCA, all of them teaching English. Management and social issues have been the main factors to promote technological integration for language teaching, and also attitudinal, pedagogical, and technical factors have made the process more difficult. The management of those ICT tools, and also the knowledge, the basic knowledge that they assume they only have for this. I don't know if we have another minute, but we have the whole reference here, and thank you. 1 minute was.
Thank you, Koritza. Thank you very much. We're actually a little bit over time.
Quickly.
We're over time by about 3 minutes, but it's not a problem. I'm going to just now give the floor to Valentina to see whether anybody has any questions, to moderate the questions that may come your way. Valentina, I am making sure that you can unmute yourself. Are you able to unmute yourself? Yes, there you are.
Hi, we have now 10 minutes for a question section. Feel free
Actually, we have about 6 minutes left.
We have 6 minutes.
Yeah, sorry.
So feel free to write your questions on the chat room, or maybe you can raise your hand.
Okay. Okay, Paula, you can unmute yourself just to be able to answer the questions. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We have our first question. What are the current challenges for the public educational setting to incorporate technology in the classroom?
Okay. We can say that firstly, our condition, the pandemic condition, had inset in a obligatory way, in a way, the attitude to integrate technology. And when we had some focus group discussion with some students, they mentioned that it wasn't, if we can take this survey before starting this pandemic situation, the answers couldn't be the same. They mentioned by now only the basic knowledge of ICT, or the management of ICT tools. However, when we have been discussing that, they say that it is just by now they have been receiving some courses from the institution, some instructions, some motivations from their students. However, at the beginning, they couldn't have the same opinion, or they couldn't say the same thing, that they had basic knowledge. So it is in a way an improvement for that. Of course, we know that basic knowledge is just the first levels. If it's part of the first levels, or we can say that they have just the conception that we are on the last steps, 5 or 6 or 7 steps. However, it is more for their attitude to get better or to go from basic to an intermediate level, although they recognize at the same time that they don't know, they don't manage properly all the ICT tools. So the first challenge here is the attitude. They want to accept that it is important to learn a language or to learn any other content. Of course, they are studying English language by now. However, it is more for motivation, attitude, and also part from the institutional that I mentioned. We can say that the university changed their point of view. The universities change their point of view. Why? Because they are also giving instructions, offering courses to incorporate technology in the classroom.
Yes, and mainly change this vision that technology was only for entertainment and free time. So that is why they have this opposite views of what is Facebook, and they are much more active there, Instagram and everything. But with academic work, they are really conservative. They do not like to try new innovations. Sometimes they are afraid of that. We have tried to use Padlet, for example, and they reject that. They just prefer speaking or writing on the chat section, for example. So those things have been happening. So they need to learn a whole new world to use technology. And therefore, I think it's a collective view that we have tried to preserve academic work in a very, at levels of a lot of formality and lots of lack of normalization, I would say, just relying on very old and well-known means of communication and within call.
Valentina, I don't know if you have any other questions. Maybe we have time for one more. Thank you for that, Christopher, because we have 1 minute left.
Oh, we have one more question.
Sure.
It says, thank you for your presentation. Did you include online student response systems like Kahoot or Socrative in your study?
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't recognize their use. At the beginning, we started the focus group. If it was more for being related to social network or something like that, they say, no, I have heard, or we have heard about that, but we haven't used it on class. So maybe that's the reason they didn't answer with in that way, that they know it or that they manage it, is because of the use of the level of use. Yeah, but what we mentioned, remember that I said that we had a 23, at least with 23 ICT tools, they were there. But they said that only is for internet and some mobile apps and no more. Yeah, good observation.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Valentina, for moderating the questions. So we would like, on behalf of Ryseld and the people here attending the room, we would like to thank you for your presentation. Thank you for the time devoted to the research and for this presentation. We really, really appreciate it.